Welcome once again to the Cigar Advisor Review Panel. I'm your humble host, Gary Korb, and today we're going to be sampling a new cigar from our friend Rafael Nodal at Boutique Blends. It is the Swag Connecticut Toro. It is a full-flavored Dominican cigar. It has a Dominican filler and binder with a Connecticut wrapper, and it's really, really nice looking too. So let's get to our panel. He's so bright, his girlfriend calls him Mr. Sunshine. Mr. Jonathan DeTore is in the house. He saw so many football pools, he had to sell his stamp collection. It's Tommy Z-Man Zarzecki. And he's so kind he wouldn't hurt a fly, unless the fly tried to pick his wallet. Mr. John Prulo.
That's true.
What the hell is this, Dick Cavett?
Tommy, why don't you kick it off?
Kick it off. Can I kick it off with my Rafael Nodal impersonation? You know,
Absolutely.
I made this cigar because it's like everybody likes it. So that's why I made this cigar. And that's kind of how he talks. He's an original Cuban, so the guy knows a little bit about cigar making and tobacco growing. His family was into it. Now we're into it. Now the Swag's been around for a little while, right?
Yeah.
Guys, a few years the Swag ran. So Rafael goes and takes some Dominican tobaccos. I'm not sure exactly what they are or where on the plant they were picked. Maybe some of us guys know this. But he's put an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper on this that is just spectacularly smooth, silky, and wonderful, and flat out right off the bat. You know, we said full flavor. It's not full body. This is more of a medium-bodied cigar, but it's not mild and it's not light. It is absolutely loaded with a lot of different flavors. It's complex. It changes. It goes through. This is kind of the new, as John DeTore and I were discussing this morning, the new attack on the world of super flavorful Connecticut's. You know, we had the Winston Churchill. We have the Liga, the Shade, and now this. Wow, he's done a good job. Who wants to comment on what I just said?
Well, I would say if you wanted to start with something in terms of from the minute you pick it up, you're going to notice the construction. Nice smooth wrapper, and this thing is packed, tight.
It is very
full
tight.
of tobacco, but the draw is great.
Oh, yeah.
Even with just a simple V-cut, you know, typically you get a little bit more of a resistance on your draw because it's a smaller opening through which to draw the air, but the draw on this is phenomenal. And I'm about 3/4 of an inch through the first part, and it opens up right in your face with a whole lot of pepper, which is why we're talking about this different kind of Connecticut. So typically, you know, your Connecticut's are mild. They maybe have a little bit of a bitter taste to them. That bitter Connecticut taste is still there, but it's quickly washed over by a whole bunch of pepper,
Right.
by a whole bunch of spice, and then the complexity that Tommy is referring to starts to kick in pretty much right out of the bat, and it brings the whole family of flavors. We got notes of dark roasted coffee, all nuts, earth. I mean, it just goes on like a wild ride here of a whole bunch of different flavors.
As far as the opening notes, I think I agree. It has a peppery start. Full disclosure, I did have a Robusto in this cigar, and that did have a much more of a peppery start than this one. So I guess the length does have something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I'm finding that, as I did with the Robusto, the flavors begin to round off pretty much after the first, say, 3/8, half inch.
It starts out as a big pepper factory,
Yeah.
but then you're right. It smooths out after about the first inch or so. I mean, it's kind of reaching that point. But you know, that full in-your-face kind of opening is like getting smacked in the face with a cactus. It's just so punchy,
Gets your
spicy.
attention.
Clears the sinuses out like a champ
Yeah.
too.
Pulo, you're right. I'm typically a faster smoker than you three, so I do get citrus, or I do get a more bitter flavor out of some cigars here and there. But this is a very rich cigar. I think it's creamy. You do get the cocoa and you
Very
get the
smooth.
espresso flavors. I'm just tasting that little. It's kind of nice having the espresso flavor mixed with that little tiny citrus, like you order an espresso with a little twist of lemon. So it's a nice cigar.
It's a fancy restaurant you go to.
It's a really fancy restaurant.
He said that this is like an espresso with a twist of lime. You know, that's one of the best definitions I've ever heard of a cigar. That's very, very accurate. There is kind of an espresso type of coffee bean type of flavor to this, and I get citrus up the old Wazooski. I'm getting a lot of it. Must be the way I'm smoking, according to him. But I am doing this very slow and leisurely. Don't talk about my Wazoo.
I said you got it right up the old French horn, huh?
Yeah, right. Atop the French horn and down the bottom of the bills. This is a hell of a good Connecticut cigar. I mean, I raved about the Liga, the shade. And now I'm going to rave about this. This isn't as strong, say, as the shade, not as full bodied.
No.
But
Similar.
there's so much flavor going on in this, and the flavor's changing as it's going down. I already smoked one. That even if you like full-bodied cigars, I think you're going to like this, especially maybe earlier in the day or whatever. You're going to like this.
Absolutely, yeah. I
One
agree.
one of the things we haven't touched on yet is aroma. And
I'm glad you brought that up.
I
was
think
gonna
this
talk about
one
that, too.
is loaded with it in a good way.
Yeah, it really is.
For all the things that we're talking about
I mean,
in
look
terms
at
of
that
flavor.
smoke, though.
It's sweet.
Great smoke production, nice hearty aroma.
Yeah.
It's like a thick, creamy smoke, which even though I'm getting a lot of pepper and spice, but even now an inch into it, that's tamed down. But the aroma that's coming off this thing, and I know you've had conversations with Rafael in the past.
Absolutely. In fact, he was here last week, and he gave a presentation about his cigars, and he said that aroma is a really big factor with him.
That was one of the best training sessions that we had.
And I'll tell you, the aroma is what I would call sharp, but it's very fragrant.
Yes.
So it's sharp. It has kind of a sharpness to it that I kind of actually it's making my nose run a little bit.
Yeah.
So an interesting question I have for Gary Corp.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that when they blend a cigar, this isn't something that I've ever really touched on before, but do they try to blend for aroma, or is it something that just kind of happens?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because he was talking about this. Rafael was talking about when he blended the La Boheme. He said, I wanted the aroma that, like the cigar my grandfather, I think it was his grandfather smoked.
Yeah, it was his grandfather.
And he said, they just kept making blends until I found the aroma I
That's
wanted.
very
And he
interesting.
didn't-
So that's what happened. He just they
and-
kept doing it until he got it right.
To add on to that, Rafael Nodal said even when he got the final blend, he had not tasted
That's right.
the La Boheme.
He just
had-
smelled it.
He had not taken one puff of the La Boheme blend until he found that aroma that he was looking for that went back to his grandfather smoking cigars and the way it smelled. And then only when they got the aroma is when he finally tried that cigar.
Well, maybe I guess the aroma is going to kind of dictate what the flavor
Well,
profile is like.
What I firmly believe, and I'm sure and a lot of people in the industry are I'm sure are with me, in saying that aroma is extremely important to cigars. You can have one of the best tasting cigars in the world, but I mean, if it smells like a tire fire, nobody's gonna buy it because it smells like crap. But so aroma just helps round out the smoking experience. And if you have somebody like Rafael Nodal making cigars, he always tries to hit on every single sense that he could possibly hit on to make it the best smoking experience, and he nailed it with this.
I'll tell you another thing. All of his cigars I've found across the board are very full in flavor. I don't think he makes a really super mild cigar. They're either medium full, or full. And one other thing about aroma, a lot of times you'll hear, it has it's like a toasty flavor or almonds or wood. Or
I get
a lot
almonds.
of that comes from the aroma of the cigar. Because when you smell certain things, memories are triggered.
Yep.
And that's a big part of it. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
This has been probably one of the more recent smokes I've had that really sets the barometer for complexity. And as far as I still maintain that this is more of a medium plus blend,
Yeah.
even though
It
it's
is.
wrapped in an Ecuadorian Connecticut.
You know what I think? I think Rafael really, really knows how to blend cigars
Oh, yeah.
with a lot of different flavors going on, with distinct flavors. I'm starting to think about that because you just said that. Because remember, was it about a year or two ago we reviewed his aging room Maduro? And remember we all said
Oh,
it
yeah.
tasted
Such a good cigar.
almost like autumn, like it had that kind of pumpkin
It was
spice, and
it was
warm
apple
apple cinnamon,
cider with
pumpkin.
cinnamon.
It was, and it really did. And he didn't put anything in the
Nope.
right. He didn't put anything in it. It's not flavored. It's the way he takes the tobacco and what he does with it. And I think he's done the same exact kind of thing here. That man knows how to make great cigars.
does.
We do know we love you, Rafael. So you know my address. Just send stuff.
Yeah, he's a great blender through and through. So
So we good? We like it?
Want to do final
I
notes?
think we're ready to wrap it up.
Wrap it
Okay.
up. Tommy, go ahead.
This is, as John said, a cigar that I think for some of you who like full-bodied cigars and say, I won't smoke a Connecticut, if you like flavor, this is a great cigar, guys, when your palate is clean. Great. Some cigars aren't as great, especially early in the morning. We shoot these early in the morning. Like we said, complex, meaning lots of flavors, changing as it goes through. Look at the way this is rolled. This is definitely going to be on my list. I like this a whole lot. Great cigar.
I think this is the Connecticut that you pick up and that you really don't realize until maybe it's a little bit too late that this is going to be a little bit of a spicy meatball, right?
Yep.
So you have good notes of pepper and spice up front. To me, more eye-opening maybe than the experience you had. But as far as the pepper goes, the spice goes, nice start, unexpected, although somewhat expected because it is, after all, from the House of Aging Room and Swag and such. So if this is how they do Connecticut cigars, I can jump on board that boat. And if you were looking for something, maybe you only smoke mild or mild plus, more medium cigars, and you're looking to step up, do it with this one. This would be a good recommendation to move towards medium to medium plus cigars, or if you, like Tommy was saying, smoke fuller cigars, but maybe you're just looking for a little change of pace without having to sacrifice on flavor.
I agree. I would say that this is a cigar that has strong flavor, but it's not harsh, it's not bitter. It's, I guess you could describe it as smooth, creamy, and complex. Also, just one other thing about the wrapper. When Rafael was here, he did say that this wrapper, it was done a special way, so he didn't want to give that away, but this wrapper does add a lot to the blend, which is already, pretty hefty. So.
As for the flavor, I think it's absolutely fantastic. There's a lot in there, but I do recommend that you smoke it slow. This is a Toro-sized cigar, which typically lasts anywhere between an hour and 15, hour 30. This should probably take you about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes, even maybe 2 hour mark.
If you want to stretch it.
If you want to stretch it,
that's a
smoke
long
it
time,
slow,
dude.
because if you over smoke it, it'll do you dirty. You're really going to start feeling that strength to it. And it really will do you dirty. Another thing is don't buy into the hype of Connecticut cigars are only mild. Yeah. Like Tommy said, like I said, everybody here said, I think, this is a new kind of Connecticut cigar that we're seeing on the market. So any new Connecticut cigars that you see on the market, maybe ask somebody or try to find out if it's medium or full-bodied before you go ahead and just say, boy, I like mild cigars, and Connecticut's are mild, I'm just going to buy that. So really do your homework with Connecticut cigars nowadays, and especially if you're a new smoker, maybe veer away from this. Full-bodied smokers welcome. Anybody looking to step up, like Kula said, go for it. But overall, fantastic, fantastic cigar. Once again, by Rafael Nodal, one of the best blenders out there.
All right, well, that's it. You can buy the Swag Connecticut Toro at famoussmoke.com, and don't forget to watch cigaradvisor.com. Visit our website, visit us on Twitter and Facebook. And this is Gary Korb speaking for the Cigar Advisor Review Panel. Tommy, John, and Jonathan, and we'll see you next time.